World of Warcraft launched on November 23, 2004. By day 3, Blizzard wasn't celebrating the biggest launch in PC gaming history. They were begging players to log off. You know World of Warcraft as the game that printed money for 2 decades. 12 million subscribers at its peak. A cultural institution that outlived 3 console generations. Nobody talks about the 18 months before that. The 18 months where the servers buckled under their own success, where login queues stretched past 4 hours, and where the game that would define an entire genre almost drowned in the exact thing that should have made it a triumph. This is the story documentary's skip, not the 12 million subscriber victory lap. The 18 months Blizzard spent learning, in real time, that success and collapse can look identical from the inside, and that the difference between them is measured in server capacity, not vision. Blizzard built their launch projections around EverQuest's ceiling. 500,000 concurrent players, maybe. A healthy number, a manageable number. They sold 240,000 copies in the first 24 hours. By the end of month 1, over 1 million subscribers. The infrastructure wasn't built for 1 million, it was built for half that, on a good day, with favorable weather and nobody's ISP acting up. Every realm Blizzard stood up filled within hours. Then they stood up more realms, those filled too. The team wasn't chasing a launch curve anymore. They were chasing a wildfire with a garden hose. Every server had a login queue, not a short one, 2 hours, 3. On some realms, 4 hours just to log into a game you'd already paid $60 for. Players screenshotted the queue numbers and posted them like casualty reports. Position 3,847 in line, for a video game. Blizzard's forums became a war zone. Not about the game itself, about whether players would ever get to play it at all. Some players set alarms for 4 a.m., hoping off-peak hours meant a shorter line. They were right, sometimes. Often they weren't. But the queues weren't even the real problem. The real problem was what happened to the players who did get in. Zones crashed mid-raid, character data corrupted without warning. Some players logged in to find their characters simply gone. Auction houses froze mid-transaction, and gold vanished into whatever void software bugs go to die in. Blizzard's support ticket queue backed up for weeks, not hours, weeks, while players waited to find out if 3 months of progress still existed. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The game was too popular to run, and too broken to enjoy once you got past the line to run it. Internally, there was a conversation nobody outside Blizzard heard about until years later. Should they close registration? Stop the bleeding? They didn't. They kept selling boxes while the servers were on fire, because pulling the product off shelves during the biggest launch in PC gaming history was a decision nobody wanted their name attached to. It was a bet. Keep the revenue flowing, keep the momentum, and fix the plane while it was still in the air. If the queues had gotten worse instead of better, if the data corruption had scared off even a fraction of that first million, the story we tell about WoW today looks nothing like the one we actually got. Here's the part that should terrify any studio launching a live service game today. Blizzard didn't fix this with more servers. They fixed it by admitting the architecture itself was wrong from the ground up. They rebuilt realm transfer technology from scratch, mid-crisis, while 1 million paying customers watched the game buckle in real time. Engineers were rewriting core networking code in the same month customer support was drowning in ticket volume. There was no clean separation between fixing the game and running the game. It was the same team, doing both, simultaneously for months. By spring 2005, 6 months in, the queues started shrinking. Not because demand dropped, because Blizzard had quietly tripled their server capacity and rewritten the login architecture twice. Nobody threw a parade. There was no press release that said, "We almost lost this." The subscriber numbers kept climbing through the entire ordeal, which is the part that confuses people. The game was simultaneously succeeding and failing, on the same servers, in the same months, and that's the part every retrospective leaves out. The documentaries call this growing pains. That's generous. Internal accounts from former Blizzard engineers, surfaced years later in interviews, describe 18 months of near-nightly emergency patches, not because Blizzard was incompetent, because no studio in 2004 had ever needed infrastructure for 11 million people who all wanted to log in at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. The real story isn't that WoW succeeded despite the chaos, it's that the chaos WS the price of the success, and Blizzard almost didn't have the runway to pay it. If subscriber growth had come even 20% faster, if the architecture rebuild had taken one more quarter, The queues alone might have killed the momentum before the fix ever shipped. Here's the detail that never makes the highlight reel. Blizzard's leadership reportedly considered a hard subscriber cap in early 2005, capping new signups entirely until infrastructure caught up. They rejected it, not because it wasn't the safer choice, because a hard cap in a launch window this hot might have signaled weakness to a market watching for exactly that. They chose the harder, riskier path, fix it live, in public, under fire, and it worked. But it worked, and it was inevitable, are two very different sentences. Every live service failure you've heard of, every day one disaster, had the same 18 months WoW did. The only difference is which side of the repair they ran out of time on.